Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bible, one book, one verse at a time. Now, I realize it's been quite a long time since we've done one of these. The last book we looked at was Ezra, and that was before Lent. During Lent, I encourage you to look at the Bible Project's review of the Minor Prophets, because we were preaching on the Minor Prophets and it made more sense to have just an overview kind of a thing. Today I'm picking this back up again. We're going to look at the book of Nehemiah, and then I'm actually going to go on vacation for a couple of weeks, and so we'll have another couple of weeks break before we start Job and continue on our journey. But I wanted to look at Nehemiah today because it actually gives us a really good image of what a servant leader looks like, what someone who is placed in a position of influence and power can do when they use that to do good things for the people that are around them. Now, the key verse that I want to focus on actually comes from later on, in Nehemiah's time with the people, when they've committed themselves to following God, and particularly the line at the very end of Nehemiah 10 verse 39, where they say, "We will not neglect the house of our God." Now, the book of Nehemiah comes after the book of Ezra, and remember, this is the time after the exile to Babylon. So the people of Judah and the southern tribes were taken into exile during the time of Nebuchadnezzar into Babylon. And after the Persians conquered the kingdom of Babylon, they released them back to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple first, which is what the story that you get in the book of Ezra. And then Nehemiah came back to help them rebuild the society, in essence, because he heard that the walls were still broken down. They weren't really bonding together as a community, and they weren't separating themselves or keeping themselves distinct from the world or the community that was around them. And so he came back and he used the influence he had as cupbearer to the king to get the king to actually pay for rebuilding the city. And the story is all the ups and downs that go along with this, how the people that were there, the officials in Jerusalem, were were taking advantage of those who were there, how they allowed the city to remain in ruins, how the people around them objected to the rebuilding of this city. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on in here, but we see Nehemiah time and time again encouraging the people, never taking advantage of them, always ensuring that he was never a burden to those who were there, and actually using his own resources to help them out in all kinds of really good ways. And I think Nehemiah is a really good example of how we as God's people can use whatever influence we have to be a blessing to those who are around them. Always pointing people back to the worship and to the engagement with God, which is why I think that verse at the end of that recommitment to providing for the temple and to engaging in sacrifices there and to being a part of a community together, that commitment to not neglect the house of God is so important. Now, it's tempting to make a direct application to your local church if you're a part of a local church, and that's a legitimate application, but it also extends farther than that. It extends to the whole of your life. After all, if we believe that God through Jesus is working in and redeeming the whole of our world and calls us to serve him in all areas of our lives, then not neglecting that worship of God means also using all of our power and influence to do good things in all areas of our lives. And so what I encourage you this week and over the next few weeks as we think about what it means for Jesus to be alive again and to be Lord of all creation, what does it look like for you then to not neglect the worship of God in every area of your life? As usual, if this has been helpful for you, I'd encourage you to like and to subscribe and to share this with others who might also be a benefit.